Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Baker, your testimony is very interesting and compelling, and I happen to agree with most of it. I just want to be very clear as to your points, and if you could just briefly answer these as yes or no, and maybe a sentence to precisely clarify what you mean by it, but I don't want hopefully long answers to these questions. You say in your opening paragraph of your testimony before the 9/11 Commission that the government knew the names of the two hijackers, not the private sector. The government knew the names of the two hijackers. The government knew that these were al-Qaeda killers.
Yes.
And the government knew that they had entered the United States of America.
Yes. I get that from the Joint Intelligence Committee inquiry.
You also go on to state that these two people, Khalid al-Midhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi, were openly living in the country and using credit cards and other sources of information that would have made them readily accessible to the government apprehending them, whether they were in California or Virginia or Ohio or some other part of the country. Is that correct?
That's right.
And do you also contend that 2.5 weeks would have been ample time for this FBI agent to have said to somebody, listen, I'm not going to pay attention to this wall. I'm going to try to break through this wall and share this information. You contend then that at least the flight number 77 that went into the Pentagon by Midhar and Hazmi, if not the flight by Atta, could have been thwarted or prevented?
I don't think that by himself he could have broken those rules. The FBI obeys rules, and he couldn't have gotten cooperation.
Hypothetically,
but
if
without the wall, I believe not only could we have found those folks, but if we had just been able to check some basic data which they shared with the people, phone numbers, addresses, and the like, who we could have apprehended, we probably could have found most of the hijackers before September 11th.
Including Atta, who flew into the American Airlines Flight 11 into the North Tower.
Yeah, and the fellow who took the plane into the South Tower as well. I don't know whether we could have found the people in Pennsylvania.
You also say that you believe that we did not have the proper accountability after 9/11, and only one person was held accountable, and that I'm not sure if you were being acute about Poindexter. Who else should have been held accountable?
I'm not looking for scalps or heads on the wall. I think it's an observation that the only person we thought had to leave was someone who was trying to solve this problem, not somebody who was responsible for it.
So you're not recommending to the 9/11 Commission anybody that should be accountable?
Well, you know, I feel a certain personal accountability here. I was part of building this wall. I thought I was doing the right thing, that it was the best thing for the country. It turned out to be a disaster, and I'll always regret it.
Do you believe we know all the lessons of 9/11?
No.
What might be the single most important one looking back?
I think the failure to focus on what was happening on the FISA court, in the FISA offices, with the wall, with the actual administration of those policies is something that's really been overlooked, and we need to do more of that.
And you say in the end of your testimony that you believe we have gone backwards since 9/11 to August of 2001 rather than forward to trying to mitigate future terrorist attacks. Can you explain that in a sentence or two?
You know, Commissioner Benveniste read some very moving and accurate and proper quotes about the importance of being alert to the risk to civil liberties in times of crisis. I think that's been the message from the beginning, not that we need to sacrifice civil liberties. That is what elite opinion has been saying all along, and the result of the progression of that from warning against risks to trying to find them in the USA Patriot Act has significantly deterred imaginative, creative, aggressive action on the part of the government to respond to the crisis that we're in.
And my last question is, we asked this to the first panel about this 56-year-old National Security Act that separates our domestic and our foreign intelligence bodies from doing some of this cooperation. Do you think that we should have a seamless entity out there collecting intelligence at this point, one single entity to take us into this new era? What is your feeling on this?
I'm agnostic on that. In theory, if we could bring MI5 over here and plop it down functioning properly, it might be the best solution. But the fact is, the choice for that is either we're going to leave the FBI to try to change its culture, or we're going to ask DHS to take on that major responsibility in the middle of desperately trying to organize itself. I started the education department. I tell you, it is not easy. And so given a choice between those real-world examples, I think I'd give the FBI some time to get its culture in order. But I don't underestimate how hard that is.
I don't know how much time you continue to give the FBI after that.